putting this together and ask the City Council for your support in this resolution and the one that follows. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tyler Ellsworth with the law firm of Kutak Rock, the city's bond counsel. The statutory purpose of the public hearings this evening on both IRBs that you're being requested to consider are to look at a cost-benefit analysis of the proposed benefits of the project weighed against the proposed costs based on an analysis that was prepared, in this case, by the State Department of Commerce. And so I'll get into that for this building number 2 in a moment. But before I do that, I think it's helpful to keep in mind that when we talk about industrial revenue bonds, it's helpful to keep in mind that it's not, the bonds themselves are not a debt or an obligation of the city. The word bond is in the name. Technically, they are a bond obligation, but really it's the development team that's taking the risk here. The city's not going out and obtaining a loan of $35 million to put this new warehouse or both new warehouses in place. Really, the developer is taking that risk, and the IRBs are simply a mechanism for providing a property tax abatement and for allowing a sales tax exemption on the construction materials. So I think that's helpful to keep in mind. Just, I know you all are aware of that, but it's helpful that the public understands that when we go through proceedings like this. With respect to the cost-benefit analysis for Building 2, and this was mentioned by Amber in her agenda cover memo, but I think it's worth pointing out that the benefits based on the cost-benefit analysis for Building 2 here are all projected to exceed the anticipated costs. So in this case for Building 2, the cost-benefit analysis projects that the benefit-to-cost ratio over the 10-year abatement term for this building is 1.43 to 1 for the city, 1.24 to 1 for Wyandotte County, 2.33 to 1 for the school district, and 2.46 to 1 for the state of Kansas. And I would also underscore the point that Greg made just a moment ago. Both of the parcels of property that these two warehouses are going to sit on generate currently about $5,000 a year in property taxes. During each year of the 10-year proposed abatement here, even with the abatement in place, those buildings will each generate around $350,000 a year in property taxes. So we feel like this is a win-win. It's something that provides a significant capital investment for the city and an increase in your tax base, but also makes the project financially viable for the developer here. So with that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all that. Anyone else that would like to stand and speak in favor? Seeing none. Anyone that would like to stand and speak against? Or have any other questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing now at 7:43.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Gurley and seconded by Mr. Shannon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. The public hearing is closed. On to item number 2, which is the resolution of intent. We'll item number 2, the resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds for Skinell Building 2, which is the same issue. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adopt a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds and property tax abatements for Skinell Properties LLC Building 2.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds and property tax abatement for Skinell Properties LLC Building 2.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shannon and seconded by Mr. Reeves. Can we have a vote, please? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Discussion, and we'll start down here with Mr. Shannon. Yeah. Sure.
The money that's coming back, like the $17,500 each year, and this is more for, I guess, the city. will that be able to go towards that 37% for our schools, the taxes that we pay? Are we going to be able to see a benefit of tax reduction?
That's a very good question.
Especially the school district.
Right, right. You will not see a tax reduction. You will not be able to use that $17,500 for the purpose of property tax relief. Under the pilot agreement, which is part of what's approved with the resolution of intent that you're considering, that $17,500 each year goes to a community cause that essentially the developer and the city jointly agree on. So it could be a charity, it could be several charities, but that's the function of that $17,500. It's probably worth noting, though, that based on a change to the Kansas IRB law that was put in place around 2016, 2017, the entirety of the school district's property tax levy cannot be abated. The school district retains their $8 million capital outlay levy, and so that can't be abated, and that's not part of this deal. So there is still some revenue that does go to the school district that's apart from this abatement.
Thanks. Just curious.
Very good. Ma'am?
Speaking about the school district, I was interested in the internship, externship programs that will be available. Will that cost the students anything, or?
I think those details are still to be determined.
Okay.
And that will also depend in part, I think, and I'd defer to Mr. Duff on what those particulars might be based on his experience in other locations, but I think that will be due in large part to who Skinell identifies as the end user of these facilities.
Yes, that's correct. We try to proactively work with our potential tenants and future customers to offer programs like that, and especially in today's environment where labor and jobs are such a big topic with these companies that are coming and looking for new facilities. Labor is getting harder and harder to find, and that's one of the reasons we're very excited about this project is we feel like there's a great labor force here. But directly to answer your question, that's something that we will work with them. The fact that we do not know who those companies are at this point in time makes it difficult.
Okay, thank you. Nothing.
Nothing.
I think this is an excellent opportunity for Bonner. It looks really good. I have a question, though, and that is, where's building number 1? I looked up your website. There's a picture of a beautiful building there.
Good question.
I couldn't figure out where it was.
So building number 1, we actually sold, I believe it was about 80 acres to Medline, which I believe that they came through this process June, yeah. So that's technically building number 1, and then the remaining land that we have in the site will be building number 2 and building 3. So that first building will be at the corner of 110th and Riverview.
Okay.
For the Medline building.
Thank you. I just saw the picture of the building, and I couldn't figure out where it was. So that answered my question. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd like a vote, please.
Voting on a motion to adopt a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds and property tax abatement for Skinell Properties LLC, Building 2. Reeves?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Hip?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to item number 3, which is a public hearing about a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds for Skinell Properties Building 3. Very similar. It is a public hearing, so I would go ahead and entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the resolution on intent to issue industrial revenue bonds for Skinell Building number 3 at 7:49 p.m. So moved.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Shannon and seconded by Mrs. Gurley. Sorry. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none. Is there anything to add? Would you like to readdress?
Sure, just briefly, just as we did for building number 2, staff worked with the Department of Commerce to prepare a cost-benefit analysis to look at the ratio of projected benefits to the projected cost for the building 3 project, because building 2 and building 3 are really very similar in terms of cost and overall size. These numbers shake out very similarly as well. Just briefly to note, the expected benefit to cost ratio for building 3 for the city was 1.73 to 1. The projected ratio for Wyandotte County is 1.23 to 1. The ratio for the school district is 2.36 to 1, and the state of Kansas is 2.45 to 1. So all very similar to the benefit to cost ratios that we saw with building 2 just a short while ago.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else to add? Seeing none. Any others that would like to speak against? Seeing none. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none. Go ahead and ask for a motion to close the public hearing at 7:51.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:51.
So moved by Mr. Stevens and seconded by Mr. Reeves. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Very good. On to the next resolution of intent, number 4, to issue industrial revenue bonds for Skinell Building 3. I'd entertain a motion to adopt a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds and property tax abatement for Skinell Properties LLC Building 3.
So moved.
Second?
So moved by Mr. Shannon and seconded by Mrs. Gurley. Questions, concerns, comments? Let's start down here with Mr. Reeves.
None this time.
None here.
None.
Nothing. Nothing.
Very good. Seeing no other questions or concerns, vote please.
Voting on a motion to adopt a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds and property tax abatement for Skinell Properties LLC, Building Number 3. Stevens?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Kipp?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Congratulations and thank you for your investment in the city of Bonner Springs as well as our own investment. This will be a great addition to a gateway into Bonner Springs and other communities, so thank you very much. Moving along to item number 5, a resolution authorizing the smart water meter project. Staff.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Tilly LaPlante, Finance Director. The resolution before you is for the purchase of ultrasonic water meters to replace our current mechanical meters throughout the system. Frank Abart, Public Works Director, is here. Talked about this at the council work session last meeting. These meters would provide more efficiency. Our residential, which is the majority of the meters, are a 20-year warranty. The meters would be paid for through a bond issue, which will be the next item. But this resolution just authorizes the project and sets the maximum project authority at $995,000. That includes the cost of the meters, which is about $960,000, the issuance costs, and there's some extra in there in case one of the bond, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, if one of the, if the purchaser of the bond wants to pay a premium. Premium, so the difference in the money wouldn't be any different from what we'd be paying out, but that just keeps us with the $995 would be the most that we could spend on the project. So, and Tyler Ellsworth with Kudak Rock's here if anyone has any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything else to add? No? Very good. Anyone else in the audience have any questions, concerns, comments for or against? Seeing none. I'd entertain a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the smart water meter project.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the smart water meter project.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Stevens and seconded by Mr. Thompson. Vote, please. Oh, yeah, we'll start right here with Mr. Thompson. Sorry. Questions, concerns, comments?
None.
Ma'am?
I'm guessing our water is going to increase dramatically, is that correct? Just the amount we register, right? Gotcha.
On that note, we did look at the ones, we have 10 samples, and there wasn't a lot of fluctuation, at least in those meters. I'm not sure how old the meters were that we replaced, but when we looked at the pilot meters, there wasn't these great fluctuations. So.
Well, I'm actually glad to hear that, because that means we haven't been getting shorted on water usage. Thank you.
Nothing here.
Very good. Sorry, I figured as much. That's why I'm getting ahead of myself. So now vote, please.
Voting on a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the smart water meter project. Thompson?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Gurley? Yes. Motion passes.
Very good. Moving along to item number 6, which is the resolution authorizing the sale of the general obligation bonds in Series 2022-A. I would entertain a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of approximately $980,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds. You threw me off earlier.
Do we want staff input at all on this?
Do you have additional to say?
Just that this sale will take place on February 14th. The sale will be for the 980, which is the cost of the meters plus the issuance costs. There'll be 10-year bonds, and the payments on the bonds will be paid through the water fund beginning in March of next year.
Anything else from staff? Any other questions or concerns from citizens? Seeing none. Now I would entertain that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of approximately $980,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds.
Second.
So moved by Mrs. Gurley and seconded by Mr. Stevens. Questions, concerns, comments? And we'll start right here.
No, none.
Sure.
Nothing here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know if they had asked. I do have a question. With our DUNS rating, we've been good, our city rating, we've been getting good rates, but because of the size, should we expect it's probably going to be a little bit higher as far as the interest on those?
David Arterberry, our financial advisor, he sent me one today of a bond that sold at about what were expected, and theirs was a 10.5-year bond, and they've never had a bond rating. So they did send out the bond term sheet, and we have had 2 or 3 show interest. I know one of them that showed interest, David said it's probably because of our credit rating. So they do look at those ratings that we currently have. We post that out on a site called Emma. So they can go and look at all of our past ratings. So I think, though it's not rated, David thinks that we would they'll look at what our prior ratings are and kind of base their,
Even though it's not over a certain amount, our rating, our percentage will probably come in pretty close to what they have, what we've expected in the past, correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing else.
Seeing none, now I would ask for a vote, please.
Voting on a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of approximately $980,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds. Long?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. This has although there's expense, it has the opportunity to save the city of Bonner Springs and its citizens quite a bit. Moving on to item number 7, which is seasonal employee pay scale. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Justine Speaks. I'm the Recreation Manager. Before you tonight is an update to the seasonal pay scale or the pay scale for seasonal employees, that is. This was originally brought to you guys back in December of 2019 when it became a thing. Unfortunately, we are having to update it again now due to increasing cost of everything and just like the staff shortage and keeping competitive with our Parks and Recreation neighbors in this area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
Very good, thank you. Anything else to add by other staff? Citizens? Questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the updated seasonal employee pay.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Thompson and seconded by Mr. Shannon. Questions, concerns, comments, and we'll start down here again with Mr. Reeves.
Nothing here.
Nothing here.
Oh, my goodness, that's great.
I do have a question.
Oh.
Does this put us more competitive with our neighbors, or are we still behind on our pay scale?
We're more competitive with our Parks and Recreation neighbors, not so much any corporate like Walmart or Target. But with Parks and Rec, we're good.
Okay.
Very good, thank you. Seeing no other questions, concerns, or comments? Vote, please.
Voting on a motion to approve the updated seasonal employee pay. Wood?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. On to item number 8, the Great Plains SPCA Animal Services Agreement. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Billy Knapp, Chief of Police. What we have tonight is an agreement for animal-related services for Great Plains SPCA. If you recall, about early 2021, we renewed an agreement with Leavenworth County Animal Shelter. They contacted us at the end of 2021 and expressed that they would high probability not be able to care for our animals as we've been taking them to them due to some staff reductions and other concerns. That left us with trying to figure out kind of what we're going to do. We reached out to Great Plains SPCA, and they're willing to move forward with an agreement with us. Outlined in that agreement are the associated costs with that agreement, and we find that is the best option at this time.
Very good. Any other staff input? Questions, concerns from citizens? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Great Plains SPCA for animal-related services.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Shannon and seconded by Mr. Stevens. Questions, concerns, comments, and we'll start down here with Mr. Shannon. Okay. All right.
I know it's been brought up, I think, by Councilmember Gurley and several others at times. Is this pushing us back to into a place where we need to really start thinking long-term about doing something ourselves.
I would highly encourage that we at least start having those conversations, yes.
And would we be best to approach it, approach it as a strictly our city, or would be smart for us to maybe work with some of our surrounding communities who may be experiencing some of the same issues?
I have spoke, at least with the city of Edwardsville, their chief of police. They seem to be interested in maybe partnering and trying to do something. I do think there's a broader county discussion that probably needs to happen too. I think there's an opinion that the county's not really involved in this, but if you look at the statute, there's some requirements of the sheriff to do certain things with animals. Obviously with Loring Road changing hands, the reason I say that is they're not doing anything that's gonna become our problem. And so, yes, I think it's very important we engage as many as we can.
Okay. I think it's a good idea we go ahead and make sure we're taking care of the animals, but down the road, if staff would like to kind of move that discussion further, maybe this spring, we can start looking at potential ways we can handle that in-house. Thank you, Chief.
What does KCK do?
KCK uses, well, their own services. They have several different facilities that they can house their own animals. We have reached out to them. They basically told us they don't have the ability to care for ours, or Edwardsville. Edwardsville's in the same boat. So we use local rescues and various other for-profit areas. The problem being is a lot of those have kind of taken the position that this is a municipal government problem, not a rescue problem. So it's kind of a transitional shift. So where we can no longer rely on them every day for our care for our animals. Baser uses Leavenworth County Humane Society. Tonga uses Leavenworth County Humane Society. They do have their own holding areas, which we're trying to establish in our Sallyport.
Nothing there.
About how many animals did we transport to Leavenworth County last year?
Last year, Leavenworth County, we did 15 to Leavenworth County dogs and 25 cats.
And how many of those would be automatically disqualified by their requirements?
It's hard to tell now because they have a provision where they talk about large animals. A good example, we had a Mastiff recently on a bite case. They won't accept any bite animals. Or he was a very large dog that sounded really aggressive. That'd be one they wouldn't be able to care for. So it's really hard to tell how many exactly.
Was last year indicative of our numbers? Did they stay fairly steady?
It's been pretty consistent. We've been averaging roughly around 40-ish for the last 3 years of dogs and then additional cats. We have been able to transfer some to Bar, which has been a partner. So that's kind of helped that burden a little bit.
And they're still willing to work with us
Yes.
as they can?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
No, I'm just thinking of the animals, poor little things, and, you know.
So you made mention of a facility you're trying to utilize the Sallyport for a temporary situation.
Yes.
Can you explain what you're doing there?
We installed 3 kennels for animals, specifically dogs. We're working with the state of Kansas to get that approved and licensed to be able to house animals there. It works. It's not an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination. It does have some effects on regular operations, but it's with the retirement of Dr. Stolfus, there's just no other options for us locally to house those types of animals. So it's kind of where we're at. Monday, the state will be out. Hopefully, we'll get final approval. There may be a couple additional purchases we have to make that area satisfactory, but with the drain system and the flooring, we've added some impervious surface so we can spray it off. It does take additional staff time to make sure the animals are being walked and taken care of and fed. So that is something else, just to keep in mind.
And you said there were 3 kennels, so that means you'd only be able to take care of 3 dogs?
Yes, theoretically, yeah, 1 per kennel.
Do you know how many animals Dr. Stolfus could house at any one time? He had 6 total. Thank you.
Other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd ask for a vote, please.
Voting on a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Great Plains SPCA for animal-related services. Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. And I appreciate all you do for the pets that, well, yeah, I know it's all kindred, but it's a whole system-wide approach that we take, so thank you. Moving along to reports, the first of which is the city manager's report.
Good about that. Just a quick reminder that the city is soliciting input on the Unified Development Ordinance, so that is on the city's website for active discussion. There's going to be some follow-up steps with that, but that closes out at the end of this month. And then given the discussion on animals, Chief let me know today, I think it was Kendra and Corporal Reinhold were interviewed, excuse me? Rector, there we go. There'll be, February 2nd, I believe, Miss Kelly Clarkston will be having a story about that whole camel debacle, I'll call it. So again, we continue to get some positive press on that animal control case. But other than that, that is all I have this evening.
Very good. We'll start with city council items, and we'll start down here with Mr. Shannon. Okay.
I was just curious, I may have missed it here. Any word on what is going on with the stealth bomber area? I can't think of what the name of that. What is it?
Velocity.
Velocity. I was just curious.
Yeah, I've spoken with some of the landowners out there as well as the Velocity group. There seems to be some continuing dialogue on that project, but I wouldn't say that there's anything pending at this point in time. So that's kind of, unfortunately, at a little bit of a standstill right now with not a lot to report.
Thanks, Sean.
Anything else?
Nothing here.
Comment, hoping that the cemetery committee, we can start meeting next month, February sometime. Do we know what day that might be on?
Sorry. It would be the same date, same day of the week and week of the month that we have always met on. So I believe it's the second Wednesday.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
certainly.
Appreciate that. So.
That's it. Very good. In that regard, the cemetery certainly has seems to be very nice compared to a lot of other cemeteries I get to see in my professional day job, and I appreciate that greatly for the city of Bonner Springs. It shows the level of respect and honor we pay to our citizens as well. For the mayor's portion, I would like to start off by enjoying what a great weekend this was for sports in and around our area. The University of Kansas was successful, as well as our professional team in Kansas City, the Chiefs. 25 points in 2 minutes, and it seems as though 19 points and a half. So it's well received. I hope everyone shares that concern. Oh.
Can I move to strike that from the record?
Strike.
I thought you were storming out. But in a more serious note, the Martin Luther King recognition that we normally have annually here in Bonner Springs has suffered a lot of setbacks with the virus, as well as concerns that the groups that are normally involved in that. I reached out to some of the individuals that are helping to try and plan that, and hopefully we may have some a modified celebration, perhaps this next weekend. You'll need to stay abreast of information that's available on the Facebook as other media outlets, yes?
It's at the First Christian Church, isn't it?
It normally is at the First Christian Church, but because of the virus, it may be outdoors in that general area out front, maybe. It's still up in there, but hopefully we can celebrate a great part of our history. In the last few weeks, I've been reached out to by all of our representatives, Representative Burrows, Commissioner Stites, and Mayor Gardner, and we're setting up opportunities for dialogue concerning a lot of the issues that affect Bonner Springs. So if you have any specific concerns, please let me know, and I'll take those forward. There's quite a few issues that are coming up, from ARPA to the redistricting to concerns more local. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate them reaching out as well. Other than that, that's all the specifics I have, unless anyone has any questions for me. We're adjourned.